Once upon a time, tango yakala. Once upon a time, tango yakala. Kera cyane zamani sana, kera cyane zamani sana. Tulishi juu ya milima. My mother and father were binary stars. Likolo ya ngomba, c'est là qu'on s'est découvert. Nafsi yetu, nguya na biso, ibigaragara n'ibitagaragara. Une conscience inébranlable même après la mort. Binary crime theory, kupana na kupokea. Ifo muteme panzama, liboso ifungola. Eclipse d'essence, umwotsi mu bihaha. And then there was fire. Fire in the sky, 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 fire in the sky. There was day, and then there was light.
Hola a todos, estamos esta noche con Saul Williams y ANISIA Uzeyman, los directores de Neptune Frost. ANISIA Uzeyman es actriz, escritora y directora de origen ruandés. Quizás la conozcáis por obras tan interesantes como Dream States y Agiti Mon Amour. Y Saul Williams es un artista que yo creo que no necesita presentación, ¿no? Porque es de múltiples talentos, es poeta, escritor, músico, slammer, actor y ahora por primera vez director de cine, se pone detrás de la cámara. So welcome and congratulations Saul and ANISIA for the inclusion of your film in the Discovery section of the festival RETUEYOS, which means, I don't know if you know that, young tree shots in the native language of Asturias. Welcome to be with us.
Hola, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. Your movie is an incredible example of speculative fiction in a long tradition of Afrofuturistic works of art and culture. I would like for you to talk about how this journey began, since it's the first time that you are Saul behind the camera and that the two of you are working together as co-directors of a film.
Well, the process began as a sort of an inquiry, one into how ANISIA and I might collaborate on something, and also for myself personally, an inquiry of how I could bring together all of the things that I love doing regarding music, writing, performance, and storytelling, and it was also a response to a lot that was happening in the world when we first started conceptualizing it, and still is happening. Whether that is a response to the role of technology in our lives and what that means to us, the relationship between technology and the places where the minerals and everything that's necessary for it are sourced, exploitation, the conversation surrounding gender, colonialism, all of these things. And so the film was the project was originally conceptualized as a multi-tiered project, a graphic novel, a musical, and ANISIA and I first started approaching the musical in 2014 as a musical for the stage. And we transitioned once we spoke to producers who were interested in investing, but thought it really sounded like a film idea. And so we slowly, started shifting that and spent, years writing. And we eventually did a Kickstarter campaign in 2018. And then, yeah, we were lucky enough to finish shooting in Rwanda, finish shooting principal photography in Rwanda in March 2020. Right at the top of the pandemic.
Yeah, congratulations for being able to leave the country with your drives and just putting it together afterwards.
Thanks.
And I know actually this love story of you guys and also Love to Cinema that has become this amazing movie started in another African country in Senegal while you were filming Tei Aujourd'hui by amazing filmmaker Alain Gomi. And I don't know if you can tell us a little bit of the context that actually pushed you in more detail to approach all these issues. And now is Neptune Frost, no?
Yes, I think you can do it.
Okay, well, yes, it's true. ANISIA and I were shooting Tay in Senegal. And while spending time in Dakar, one of the first observations on my part was sort of the fascination of the intermingling of worlds. And so there were, lots of kids with smartphones and Beats headphones and what have you, but they would come home from school and go straight into the sort of local tradition of like building drums and building those drums to participate in the neighborhood kind of drum and dance competitions that would happen. And we would kind of hear a drum call in the middle of the night and try to follow the drum through the city and arrive and see these amazing dance competitions. But it was like, so here you have something ancient in relationship to the drum and the drum's relationship to coding, the sort of programming, and drum machines and all this stuff. But these kids at the same time were totally connected to modern, headphones and technology. And so I started thinking about that, and at the same time was just starting to learn about e-waste camps, which is the place where all of our technology goes to die. And there are, phenomena across the African continent and other parts of the world where scavenger culture is still, happening. And so our old computers, our old telephones go to these places so that people can strip out the copper and the wires and use whatever is usable and create new technology. And so there's the idea, I think, was born in that moment.
Yeah, the discovery that those same places where our old computers go to die, also sometimes the places where the primary materials are sourced. And so, how is that creating a kind of power that could, eventually, becomes active.
Yeah, the sort of ecosystem of that recycling and sourcing was definitely a point of interest, and then taking it from there into the idea of fossil fuels because you have coal, you have gas, but you also have the precious minerals that are used to make batteries and all of this stuff, like coltan, cobalt, that our smartphones and laptops are dependent on. And the idea was born that, they're called fossil fuels because it's from the remains of humanity, and it turns into this power that then runs through our engines, and it's true with computers and all that. So I started thinking of that connection between ancestors and the present, and
and then all the different characters came up, these amazing allegorical figures, if you allow me to say it, actually made me think a lot. And I don't know if you have that connection in mind, because I'm a cinema professor specialized in African cinema and the diaspora. On one movie especially, Jean-Pierre Beccolo, Les Saignants, The Bloodettes, Actually, even the nocturnal ambience, the camera movement, the body that becomes always at the center of this post-colonial and capitalist world, no? And also, I don't know if you have seen another movie from him that is called Aristotle's Plot. And in that case, he also creates, different figures that are also allegorical, and that like intertwine because all these connections were popping up. I think everyone that watches your movie is just like overwhelmed with all the information, the ideas, and we organized it, each of us, each of the spectators in a different way, no? So you can put different kind of spectatorial experiences, I would say. So for me, it was coming up as well, obviously, one of the most important or pioneer works of Afrofuturism, The Last Angel of History, and thinking about the data thief. I don't know, you have in mind. For me, it's like the data thief evolves and becomes Neptune. And then we have the answer of this question that Black Audiophile Collective and even Jonah Comfrey afterward in Digitopia, another movie that is so linked with yours, it made sense in this collective and gender neutral or fluid figure. And that amazed me. I don't know if you have that in mind. It's just connections that happen, or if you can explain a little bit more about that. Sorry, the nerd.
Well, first, I think ANISIA can talk about because ANISIA was not only the co-director, but was the director of photography. And so the choice of how to shoot it was one thing that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's all of this was inspirational and linked. We never really thought about Afrofuturism. We thought more about sci-fi, musical, and how to convey science fiction musical with that world of recycling and that ecology that is happening there, and I do think recently I discovered glitch feminism. I don't know if you and I thought it was really close to that. I thought that that disruption, that place of error, that place of that thing that is ripping. I think that space was really important and interesting for us to see how to tell a story about that moment where things are shifting, where things are becoming, because they are taking into account or become conscious, how they are giving power and what is that power about.
Yeah, making sense of the worlds between worlds. It was definitely in the realm of what we were researching while we were preparing this film, that connection between binary coding and the discourse around the binary, and smashing the binary. Like this was exactly what we were, trying to make dots between these worlds. Exactly that, which explains, the journey of Neptune, the main character, and these are exactly the connections, the friction between worlds, and what that allows and to be born, is essentially what we were aiming to be in dialogue with, whether it's in the history of African filmmaking or what have you, but also in relationship to science fiction, because what we have found also was that our relationship to science fiction is so heavily laden with this sort of Western fixation on whatever wrongs or fears or its projection. So that, like, what I mean by that is that you look at Star Wars or a bunch of popular science fiction films, and the biggest fear is that aliens are going to come from a different planet and enslave and colonize us, right? and which isn't really a big stretch of the imagination. It's like, you know, Africans and indigenous people imagining that Europeans are going to come on big ships, enslave and colonize us. Oh, where did that idea come from?
No, and that's really interesting because you know what and even with Samuel Delany was explaining, this kind of not the Afrofuturistic, I think more the sci-fi, and how this future is actually the present, and in the way you intertwine this present that you've been explaining so well concerns, especially right now when the Glasgow meeting has come to an end, and again a lot of promises, but no real any decisions taken that's going to change, and actually the impact in third world countries in Africa is going to be enormous in the future years, and we should actually repay for everything that we've been taking and how we use it, all of us, even from everywhere, but yeah, and
exactly.
Actually,
I just want to respond to that real quick, only because it's yes, I mean, one, because I've been reading a lot of articles and books and you know, paying attention to people like Greta Thunberg and, you know, all of these, you know, people who are saying, like, you know, the governments are taking their time and responding in kind and really not treating it as a state of emergency that it is. And a lot of the articles and books that I'm reading, one, you know, I just read an amazing article about a book called what is it called? White Skin, Black Fuels, based on Frantz Fanon's, you know, Black Skin, White Mask. And it's, and another one before that called Ministry of the Future, both books raising the question surrounding eco-terrorism. And our film is about a hacker, you know, and at the birth of this film, around 2011, 2012, you had the Arab Spring, you had Chelsea Manning, you know, you had WikiLeaks and all this stuff, and countries started looking at hackers as terrorists, you know, and this information sharing was going to speed up the process. I mean, essentially, that's what it is to hack, is to find a shortcut. Exactly. To find a shortcut to speed up the process towards the progression of humanity, so that we don't have to repeat the mistakes of the past. And films like this are about that. It's for that and about that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think you have make a perfect explanation of what you try to convey and what actually one feels watching it right now. Even if I think Neptune Frost needs a lot of viewings to understand or try to grasp everything. And that brings me to an amazing work of collaboration that you have done with all these young artists from Burundi and from Rwanda. And since neither of them can be today with us in this conversation, I would like you to be the voices or the transmission, even those hackers that puts them now in this conversation, since I was absolutely mesmerized by the production design, the makeup, the clothing. Even I love the fact that some of the actors are rappers and artists in their own quality, I would say, and this suspension of disbelief when they look to the camera, like if they were in a music video sometimes, it was beautiful. In that sense, this decoding by using music and love, for me, was just this gaze to the screen that they gave us. So I would like you to make them be part of this conversation with us as this, dancing moments that you have created, absolutely beautiful choreography in the movie, in this conversation.
Well, we can start with Cédric Misero, who is a young genius that we met. First time we went to Rwanda to actually, start scouting and, casting. And he was, 23 at that time. Yeah. And we sat with him and just spoke like a little bit and explained to him the story. And the next day, he comes with, motherboard sandals.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he has been, collaborating with us on this project. So he's really there at the root of the project. Yeah. And he's first a fashion designer, and then he's evolving into
art installation, visual art.
Cédric Misero.
So he's our costume designer and production designer.
who worked with Tanya Melendez, who is American Puerto Rican
hair and makeup
stylist,
yeah.
who flew in the first day of the film, the shoot, and found that beautiful, connection and space to work with Cedric and his crew, and they, proposed this amazing, interactive, I think, type of space and makeup and hair, and something that is evolving in a very organic way, I think.
During the course of the story. And so, and Tanya is actually one of the few people that we flew into Rwanda to shoot the film, because the majority of our cast is Rwandan and Burundian. But we had made the connection with, she goes online as Lady Soulfly and is renowned for her hair and makeup designs. And we just felt that the connection with her and Cedric would be ideal. So you have them. And then they worked, Cedric has a team of artists that worked with him, who come out of, some of them work at the Rwandan Museum or what have you, but are artisanal artists who helped build our set. So we built that set, Digitaria, there during the course of pre-production. Then you have, like you said, the amazing performers. So you have Cheryl Esheja, who plays Neptune, and also Bobo Ngabo, who also plays Neptune. Both of them are artists and performers. Both of them are dancers. Cheryl is a singer as well, performer, actress, and Bobo is an extraordinary dancer, and who participated in Who's Got Talent and all this type of stuff. These are real extraordinary performers. Then you have Kaya Free, who's also Bertrand Interesse is his birth name, who plays Mataluza, who's an extraordinary Burundian rapper and activist. He and his partner, Trésor, who plays the role of psychology, both came to Rwanda as refugees from
2015.
In 2015 during political unrest in Burundi. They were active there in the streets of Burundi and came to Rwanda then as artists, and refugees, and we met them in 2016. And so, both rappers, singers in their own right,
journalists
as well. Trésor is an extraordinary journalist as well, who graduated from the School of Journalism. And so then you have Eric Wanki, who plays Patolo, the Avatar. Who's an extraordinary poet and performer as well. You have
he actually worked on the translation
of the music,
because so the songs wrote the song, and then he came in and translated them in Kinyarwanda, in Kirundi, and
really elevated
and gave that beautiful cohesive notion of poetry and music in Kinyarwanda.
Actually, I meant to ask you about that, because especially with Kaya Free Kingdom, the fact that he is a rapper, and when he just is alluding and talking to the camera in that way, singing, how much of his words are in your songs when you were writing them?
There's a beautiful moment in the creative process where we were in pre-production, starting to work with the choreographers, Mazambaya, Yannick, in Rwanda, and starting to record songs, what have you. And Kaya, because we had gone to Rwanda earlier to shoot a sizzle reel before our Kickstarter campaign, we had part of the cast already for a number of years to prepare as we were building towards actual shooting the film. And so Kaya came to the studio one day and said, I wrote a song for the movie. I wrote a song for the movie. I've been thinking about this. I wrote a song for the movie. And he started singing Mr. Google. That is his song. Okay. That is his song. But what's crazy is that at the time, where we were in the script, and I even had the music for that moment prepared, but was trying to figure out the text that was going to happen in that moment. And he sang the song, and I said, wait a second, I'm going to play this music, try it again. And we have this recorded, actually. And we tried it with the music, like, start here, and it just matched. Wow. And so it was a beautiful fusion between the music that we had done and what he wrote. It was crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, it's magical. And that magic is...
Yeah, so it translates because you feel there is some energy there as well when the drummers start playing, all those women with the cones at the very and this is something that you get involved and you're just trying to get up and dance with them. There's a problem, I think, with this movie, to be standing, I mean, to be quiet. Especially in Europe, that you have to be like this, you're gonna really interact. I would love to be actually in Africa watching it with some other people. Actually, have you screened it in Rwanda already, the movie? Or you haven't?
So we're actually leaving next week for our Rwandan premiere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So we premiere in Rwanda on the 24th of this month. We will be in Rwanda, which is part of the reason why we can't be with you.
It's the only excuse, I think, I'm being with us. It's beautiful.
I just want to really quickly through a few other people, because we have Becky Muccio, who plays LOL, who's an extraordinary character there, who is actress and director in her own right. You have Eliane Umuheri, who plays Memory, who's an extraordinary Rwandan actress. Dorsey Rugamba, who plays Innocent, another extraordinary actor. And then you have the Cecile Kariegba, who is the beloved icon, songstress of Rwanda, who makes her film debut at the age of 74 in our film, playing one of those nuns, right? Then you have the Himbaza Club, who are the Burundian drummers who play our ensemble. Minors, okay? And that was a beautiful choice, in order having those people who are used to drumming and dancing and singing together to play, that collective, to play the ensemble, because it already linked them. And then there are other people like Michael Makimbe, Kavumbi King, who are extraordinary musicians breaking out of the scene in Rwanda, that are playing minors as well. Stars, major stars in Rwanda. And then Mazimbaya, Unique, who are dancers, choreographers. And so, it's an extraordinary crew that we worked with.
Actually, it's pretty magical to have been able to gather
the who's who,
the who is who, and the vibrancy of that scene, of that Rwandan scene.
No, and I think I've never seen something like that, because when you were saying before that initially it was conceived as graphic novel and as a musical, and then it became this film by need, so having some support of producers and stuff and moving in a different way. I was wondering if finally all this amazing work of art that you've created, especially your designer, what do you do with them? Are you going to use them for some performance art? Is this gonna actually make the other in the full circle by becoming a graphic novel that I know that is gonna be out next year? So I'm gonna be waiting to buy it as well, and also maybe a musical or performance. I don't know if you have any.
Well, in fact, I think we can go as far as to say that the film Neptune Frost will actually be out worldwide next year as well.
Congratulations.
Yes. And so that's happening. We haven't made an official announcement yet, but we can say that much. And we are already in talks with galleries and what have you for the work of Cedric Maziro, which we kept.
Amazing.
For the main reason of people should be able to see this work close up, because like you said, upon first screening of the film, I doubt very seriously you could see the shoes, the jackets, the walls of the pyramid, the dome, all of these, the guns made of wood, the telephones that we designed. There's so many details that went into the production design. And so, yes, upon finishing shooting, we elected to keep everything for the sake of either constructing something like a museum or something in Rwanda itself, but also to have the ability to travel with some of these works of art. So all of that is in consideration now, and we'd also love to come to Spain with it, you know.
Consideration. We hope, especially me, that here talking for the festival Gijón, but also I live in Barcelona, and there's a lot of museums that I'm sure as galleries will be really interested, because it's an amazing, as we said many times already, work of collaboration that has so many different webs and nets that it can just expand. And I think the conversation, depending on the audience that will be able to see it in different contexts, will expand and will be really, really rich. Especially now, I don't know if you know this, but in Spain, our communities of Afro-diasporan people are growing. So the interest is starting to spark, as in France and Germany and England. No? Some decades ago, here is a new generation of artists and creators that really wanted to know all this, and I think it's going to be really rich for them. I think we don't have much time left, but thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, and congratulations again for the super premiere in Rwanda so soon, and we'll try to follow all these new projects that you have on the making related to this amazing movie. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.